In case the most exciting thing you've ever found in the street was an old quarter, prepare to be really jealous of this elderly woman from Romania. She found a rock in a stream bed and decided it was bulky and heavy enough to become an excellent doorstop. So she brought it home and used it for years. After she had passed away, her relative inherited her property and the doorstep with it. He somehow realized it was more than a quirky home decor piece and sold it to the state. It turned out to be one of the biggest intact chunks of amber in the world, worth over $1 million. Experts believe it's somewhere between 38.5 and 70 million years old. Amber is a fossilized tree resin that's millions of years old. In the Romanian village of Colti, people have been digging up this gem from the riverbanks since the 1920s. The largest amber deposits in Europe are in the Baltic region. But with the right conditions, different types of amber can form anywhere, from Alaska to Madagascar. The huge amber nugget, serving as a doorstop, blended in so well that even jewel thieves ignored it when they robbed the house. Luckily, the Romanian authorities did recognize it as a national treasure of the country. It's now kept in a museum, and no, they don't use it as a doorstop. A building contractor named David Gonzalez bought a house in Minnesota for slightly over $10,000. It was built in 1938 and needed some serious renovation. While fixing it, David found an unusual piece of insulation among old newspapers. It was the very first comic book introducing Superman, a copy of Action Comics #1 from the same year that house was built. The comic wasn't in perfect condition and the cover was detached, but it still sold for $175,000, which was 17 times more expensive than the house. If the comic had been in better shape, it could have been worth way more. By the way, the most expensive comic ever sold so far is the very same one, yet it was in pristine condition. To get the comic in their collection, the buyer had to shell out $6 million in 2024. Previously, other copies of the same comic book were sold for $1.5 million and $3.5 million. A fisherman from the Philippines was out on his boat near Palawan Island during a storm. When he tried to drop his anchor, it got stuck on something he thought was a rock. He swam down to free it and realized it was a giant clam, and inside it, there was a huge pearl. The fisherman didn't know how valuable the pearl was, so he kept it under his bed for good luck for nearly 10 years. After a fire ruined his house, he showed the pearl to other people. It turned out to be the largest pearl in the world, weighing 75 pounds, about 4 times as heavy as a dachshund, and as big as 1 foot wide and 2.2 feet long. It's worth around $100 million. Today, the pearl is on display at the City Hall near Puerto Princesa to help attract visitors to the city. A really lucky someone who preferred to stay anonymous bought a ring at a car boot sale in the 1980s. It looked like a beautiful piece of costume jewelry, so $13 seemed like a fair price for it. They wore it for many years, until one day they decided to take it to a jeweler to find out more about it. The jeweler discovered that it was actually a real 26-carat cushion-shaped diamond set in a mount from the 19th century. The ring was put up for sale at an auction in London and sold for over $800,000. It was roughly double its initial estimated value. Diamond fans from today would hardly recognize their favorite gem in this rock because it was cut in an old-fashioned way. It was made for candlelight, so they tried to do everything to make it visible. The silver around it darkened over time, so it didn't look like something worth hundreds of millions. The ring most likely belonged to someone from the royal family or just a really rich person, as diamonds were super rare back then. Experts think the new owner will recut it, and it's going to multiply the diamond's price. Next time there's a yard sale next to your house, don't ignore it. You could end up buying a small bowl for $3 that's actually worth millions. It's actually what happened in New York State. A lucky someone got a Chinese bowl for around $3 without knowing it was 1,000 years old. The bowl was sitting in the living room for several years, and then curiosity took over and the owner got it assessed. It turned out to be a real treasure from the Northern Song Dynasty, called a ding bowl. The only other bowl like it is in the British Museum in London. 4 bidders were fighting for the New York bowl at an auction. Finally, a London dealer bought it for over $2.2 million. In 1970, a woman from Rhode Island bought a pretty ceramic plate for less than $100. She liked it so much that she hung it on the wall above her stove. Over 3 years, it got covered in grease from cooking. In 2014, the lady took her favorite decoration to the TV show called Antiques Roadshow to have it checked out. To her surprise, she found out it was a plate designed by the famous artist Pablo Picasso in 1955 and worth over $10,000. In 1991, a man bought a painting at a thrift sale for just $4 because he liked the frame, even though the picture itself wasn't very pretty. When he took the painting apart, he found a piece of paper hidden behind it, folded up like an envelope. It turned out to be a very old copy of the Declaration of Independence, printed in 1776, right after the original was signed. A friend convinced him to take the copy to an auction house. When experts looked at it, they recognized it was one of only 25 copies printed by John Dunlap, the official printer for the Continental Congress. The document sold for $2.2 million the same year, and then again for $7.4 million in the year 2000. A man named Andy Fields, who loves garage sales, bought a set of 5 paintings for just $5 at one of those events in Las Vegas in 2010. He took one of the paintings home and decided to reframe it. When he took off the backing, he discovered a hidden drawing behind the painting. It looked like a sketch by the famous pop artist Andy Warhol, known for his bright colors and bold designs. Experts believe Warhol drew the sketch when he was just 9 or 10 years old, and it could be worth $2 million. Andy Fields decided not to sell it immediately, though. He hopes it can be displayed in a museum instead of being locked away in a vault. A painting worth over $1 million was used to cover a hole in the wall. The owner bought it along with some furniture for almost no money. They didn't know how valuable the painting was until they played a board game about art called Masterpiece, which had a picture of a similar painting. It turned out to be magnolias on gold velvet cloth by a famous 19th century American artist named Martin Johnson Heade. The Museum of Fine Arts in Houston bought the painting for $1.25 million.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.